Hello everybody and welcome to Macro Talk. It is Tuesday and I have no idea what date it is. June the 24th according to my computer, so it's probably right. I apologize for any noise in the background. I have the clothes washing. How professional is that? So then you may hear some rumbling from time to time. Today we're talking about focusing rails, macro rails. And we're going to kind of update you on the lay of the land in 2025, tell you what's out there, what's new, what's coming, and what you might want to think about getting if you're just starting out in macro. Should be interesting. And that's what we're going to be talking about all week. We're going to be talking about some advanced techniques in Stackshot and also probably in Wii Macro and with the Novaflex Castell Micro as well. But that's going to be on Thursday at 2 p.m. And the exception is Saturday when we're not talking about stacking at all. It's after stack, but we're talking about getting pictures ready to print. That's going to be the theme. So if you've ever wanted to take one of your photographs and print it off as a nice photographic print, you need to come on Saturday so everybody can tell you how they do it. I won't be telling you how I do it. I'll just be listening. It's not my forte. I'm trying to get Mike Canfor to come. I do hope he'll drop by. He's the printing guru in my book. He's the guy who knows how to do it. So the competition for June, a 2 entry per person wild card competition, is going to be wrapping up in about a week, or in exactly a week. I can't remember how many days there are in June, but it's going to be over soon. So get your entries in before we run out of time. Remember, this is a competition that I'm judging, but also my AI is judging. And I say my AI, the AI is judging. And then we're going to compare the results. It should be very interesting. So I need lots of pictures to make it work. Okay, suggestions for the July competition, leave them in the chat if you would. Ideas for live stream content in July, leave them in the chat. July is going to be a short month. I'm going to be gone to my brother's birthday party for 2 weeks. He's having a big birthday party. Well, it's actually 1 week, but it is overseas. So I'll be gone for a few days at the end of July. So if we can come up with some good ideas for the beginning of July, that would be great. And I want to thank Alistair and Amy and Bud for everything they do on this channel, particularly for helping me do these live streams. It would be very difficult to do without them. So thank you all. Who's here? Alistair's here. As always on a Tuesday. Thank you, Alistair. Do appreciate you. Now, other stuff in the works. I am interviewing Kelly Bosch at the end of this week. On Thursday, actually, right after the live stream. And I'm very excited about it. If you saw the blog post that came out yesterday, no, it was today, actually, wasn't it? You might have seen the video that I linked in there. It's one of Kelly's insect videos, and I thought you might enjoy watching that. If you haven't seen it, go to the website, check it out. www.alanwalls.photography.com/blog/stack. That's what I called it this week, stack. All right. Working on a couple of other interviews, and we'll be looking forward to having Lester Lefkowitz back on the show in early September to talk about Lightroom and how he stays out of trouble with it. So, tonight we're looking at macro rails. I'm going to try to cover virtually all the macro rails that are out there. At least I might have to group some of them together because, you know, there's lots and lots of rails with different names that were probably made in the same factory. But I want to focus on the major groups, tell you what I think is going on with each and whether or not I think they're a good buy, basically. I have either used or handled, or most of them I have actually used, but some of them I haven't, and I'll tell you if I haven't. But when it's a rail that I haven't used myself, I'm going to be going on pretty reliable sources from friends who have it and have used it. So this isn't very scientific. It's more of just a general overview of what's out there. It gets a little bit more scientific when we talk about the mechanical rails. The automatic rails. I've split this into 2 general categories. I'm going to talk first about manual rails, And then I'm going to split that up into the rails that are driven by rack and pinion gearing, and then those that are driven by a lead screw. If you don't know the difference, well, you will at the end of this, I suppose. Rack and pinion is where a small gear turns on a long straight gear so that it pulls the long straight gear back and forth. It's a little bit less accurate than the lead screw type that you're probably more familiar with, where a screw turns pulling a nut back and forth along the screw that the carriage is attached to. That's a more common mechanism, especially in automated rails. But we'll talk about the rack and pinions first, then the lead screws, and then the one or two advanced lead screw type deals, and I'll tell you what they are when we get to them. After that, we'll get into all of the automated rails on the market, and I think we're going to talk about pretty much everything this time. So I'm going to have to fly like the wind through these early ones. I put pictures. I will put pictures up so you know what I'm talking about. But don't be alarmed if we get ahead of ourselves and I forget to change a picture from time to time. You know I'm good at that. So I've got like 100 pictures here. Not 100. Everybody is going to be familiar with this first one that I am getting ready to show you. Let me see if I can do that. So this is the rail that probably everybody started out with. I know I did. This was the first macro rail that I bought. Back in the day, it cost me less than $10. These days, it'll cost you $24 if you get it on Amazon, $31 if you get it at B&H. But it is the same basically bit of rubbish. I was trying to think of a nice way to put it. It has a ginormous rack and pinion gearing on the inside of each of the rails, and this is a fancy one that has two rails on it. It's very, very hard to get it to turn smoothly. It's kind of jerky. But let me tell you something. I did macro photography for about 10 years of my life using nothing but this. And I made some very nice pictures doing that. So it's not completely the end of the world. You can do some pretty cool stuff with this rail for a very little price. But I wouldn't recommend it. Don't go buy one of these. There are better things for just a little bit more money that are going to do a lot better. This is one that it's called the Hogue something or other, MFR. All of these, by the way, every company calls them the MFR and then a number that's the length of the rail. So this is the MFR 180 millimeters long. It's also a rack and pinion. The pinion's in here. This is the rack. This has a slightly better screw than the other one that we looked at. Oh, wait, did I tell you the price of the first one? I think I did, yeah. But anyway, this one is a little bit better. It's made by Hogue, and it has slightly smaller teeth, slightly better machine, but they're still cast out of a block of cheap metal, so they tend to wear out very quickly. They're slightly better materials, slightly better tolerances. This one is actually $69, presumably because it's got some fancy schmancy buttons and knobs on it. But it's still a very basic rail. There is an old rail that I'm going to show you. Every time I've done this, every time I've talked about rails, I've shown this rail because I have it. I have a couple of them, actually, and I think it's in a much higher class. I think it's a fairly good rail, even though it's the same kind of technology. It uses the same rack and pinion. I think it does, anyway, because you can't get in here to see. It has a screw down it, so maybe it's not. Maybe it's not rack and pinion. You know, I should probably have checked. It's the Manfrotto 454, though, and while there aren't many uses for it these days, I will still occasionally use it in the field because you can really tension the carriage very effectively. And these knobs have a very smooth very smooth turn to them that will give you relatively small steps. I very much like the indexed rail as well. It's very handy. So this is an old standby rail that not a lot of people use, but for the money, which is I think about $100 these days, or I saw it on B&H for 114, which seemed a little high to me, but it is a nice, well-built Italian rail, and probably worth having one. You've got to keep it clean and well lubricated, though. It doesn't do well if it gets dry. Now, another rail that I've seen a lot of you using, and you'll see in publications all the time, is this Oban rail. Now, I put it in, again, I put it in the rack and pinion group. Only afterwards did I notice that it had a thing that looks like a lead screw going down the middle. I have never actually had my hands on one of these, though I've seen a bunch of them used. They appear to be fairly smooth and fairly easy to use, but at the same time fairly sturdy. This is the MFR 4-5. It's about $80, as you can see, it allows you to move the rail carriage side to side as well as forward and backwards. I probably ought to buy one of these one day and give it a try, because so many people do use it. It would be nice to know what its strengths are. I'm going to throw this one in here just because it's pretty fascinating. I have a couple of friends that use these, not for what they're made for. This is a Linhof rail. It's I think it's German, and it has a rack and pinion. But the rack is very finely toothed, and the rail, the pinion gear, is very fine and very smooth, and it has bearings in here. This thing is actually made for moving a large format camera, one of those big old-fashioned things you'd put your head underneath the shroud to take a picture. This is actually quite an effective focus stacking rail if you're doing focus stacking with fairly large intervals. I wouldn't want to try to do it for tiny stuff, but for larger subjects, which of course you probably wouldn't want to be focus stacking larger subjects, as you know. But if you were, this would be one way to do it. It's a very nice piece of gear. This one was on eBay for $50. But I've seen other rails made by this same Linhof company go for much more than that. So it's just a thought. I thought I'd throw it out there, seeing as I was trying to be complete this time. Now, the next rail is another take on the, well, if it will open, it will be another take on the rack and pinion. It's a teeny tiny picture, though. There it is. That's better. This is, well, it's a vanishing rail is what it is. Let me see if I can make it appear again. It's by Kirk. And Kirk is a company that has had a bad name for some reason. I don't know. I really don't know why. I use a Kirk L bracket on my camera, and I've always liked the quality of their stuff. They're kind of a poor man's really right stuff, but they're not for really poor men. they're quite expensive. This particular rail is $155, and it does use a lead screw. I beg your pardon, it uses a rack and pinion instead of a lead screw. I include this one really just for completeness sake, because it's not anything like as good as their lead screw based rail that I'm getting to show you. But for completeness sake, I thought I'd throw it in there. It's accurate and probably worth the money, and I like the indexing on the rail. I had one of these at one time. Don't know what I did with it. Now, of course, in any category, when you're doing this kind of stuff, you're going to come across things like this, which nobody can afford, but they're fun to look at. This is an Arca Swiss rail. This is the company that every other rail in the world got named after, because they invented this particular shape of base for rails to fit onto things. This is from Arca Swiss. It's the monoball macro table, and it is just exactly what it looks like. It's a rack and pinion focusing rail that costs $433. It is gorgeous, it is awesome, but it costs more than a Wii Macro automated rail, which is a very good automated rail. So I love it. I wish I had one. It would be a wonderful thing to play around with, and you can just, it exudes quality. They have several of these on B&H in different formats and different sizes. They have a crossed version which costs even more, but I just thought I'd show it for completeness sake. When are you using a manual rail these days? It's mostly when folks are starting out and they're trying to get comfortable with the idea of focus stacking. It is a great way to learn just how short 0.5 millimeter is. If you get a rail that's indexed like some of the ones I'm going to show you, you really get this seat of the pants feeling for how many steps you have to take to focus stack a small beetle. And it helps you, I think, internalize the difficulties that you're going to face when you start using an automated rail. So I think there is a role, and there'll always be a role for using a manual rail for your work. But you're probably not going to end up using it day in and day out like I did for that long. Not seeing as there are inexpensive alternatives that are automatic. There's one other manual rail I wanted to show you. This was a company that was recommended to me, and I did some research into it. This was Allison that recommended I look at this company, and I have, and I really, really like the look of their stuff. It's Kaiser, and this is the Kaiser Macro rail is all they call it, and I love the big extended handle on the side and all of the indexing marks on it. It looks like it would be a fun, accurate device to use. Obviously, I've not seen one. I've never talked about them before, but I'm actually in the process of looking for a used one to give it a try. So there you go. That's all the manual ones. Now, if you're saying to yourself that you didn't see your particular rack and pinion manual rail, you're going to come across this problem again when I start showing the lead screw ones, because I swear there are some styles of lead screw based manual rails that must be being made in the same factory and just getting different colored knobs put on them. Because there are bunches that are showing up all over the place, and they're basically the same. So there you go. You'll see the same thing happen. So the lead screw ones, I'm going to go in a different order this time, and we're going to start with, let me see, where did my pictures go to? They all disappeared. Let me start with one of the more expensive ones and get it out of the way, because this is actually a focusing rail that has some problems, and this is unusual to talk about anything with this company being problematic. Have you guessed who it is yet? It's you didn't want to see that, did you? No, you didn't. It's this. It's the Really Right Stuff macro rail. It's $400, and it is not a particularly good rail, even though it has some features that are really nice, like this graduated marker ring on the fine adjustment. When I say fine adjustment, it's only one level of adjustment, forward and backwards. But this apparently has a tremendous amount of backlash in it. I saw one at my camera shop down in Pensacola, and I was unimpressed with it personally. It has a very short throw, and just a lot of mechanical laxity in it. It's made beautifully, and it looks absolutely stunning. I think I've got another picture of it here somewhere, and yeah, it would be a lovely thing to put on the bookshelf. But apparently, most people agree that it's just not the best manual rail out there, and at the price, it's not even close. You know, $400, $395 is a lot of money for a manual rail. There are others though, and the one I referred to a minute ago, let me see. Oh no, this is it's just a shot from the B&H web page to show you that I wasn't kidding about the price. A lot of money for a manual rail, even though it's lovely. The other one that I talked about just a little while ago, or I talked about the other version that they have, the rack and pinion version. This is the lead screw version of the Kirk macro focusing rail. This is the FR3, they call it, and it's expensive too. It's $370, but it is a much more accomplished rail. It has larger buttons, a finer lead screw, and turns very smoothly. It has indexing on both sides, which is nice. Big linear bearings, or yeah, I guess they are linear, that keep the track on two rails solidly, so it doesn't have any of that rotational movement. And it's just a better built rail. I would get this over the Really Right Stuff any day of the week. It's quite nice. Not sure I like the, well, yeah, it's nice. There you go. That's all I'm going to say about it. Did I tell you how much? 370 smackers. There you go. And you're probably starting to see that these all look about alike, don't they? Well, they do, because they are. We're going to get into the ones that look even more alike now. And give me just a minute before we talk about this Sunway photo version, because I'm going to tell you all of the other ones that are just exactly like this. And these are all what I call Nisi clones. They all came out after the Nisi, what was it? I forget the number on it. The one I had and reviewed years ago and really liked. Ever since then, everybody and their uncle has made a version of it, a Nisi clone. Oban has one for $99. Leo Photo has one for $138. Surui has one for $103. And these two from Sunway Photo are among the nicer ones at $99 each. They have one with a twisty handle. Oh no, one with a RRS style clamp lock, the other one with a turning lock. And they both rotate, I think, 90 degrees, so you can load your camera sideways, or well, depending on where your quick release plate is. You know what I'm saying. These are nice, but they are to all intents and purposes identical to the Nisi, and that's going to be the case for almost all of these. I'm not going to even show pictures of most of them, because you know what the Nisi looks like. I'll show you the new improved Nisi, the one that after I show you one slightly more close-up of this Sunway photo, which is called the MFR 150. This is the one with the clamp on it. Very nice, very well made, just very much the same as the Nisi. Of course, Nisi couldn't be okay with everybody making copies of their rail, so they made a nicer looking rail. And the latest version is significantly longer and appointed quite a lot more nicely than the original. One thing I'd warn you about is, just because it has the letters Nisi stamped on it, I'm not sure I would necessarily believe that. I think there was quite a few counterfeits going around. Something else about the Nisi rail that I'm going to tell you. I love this rail. It really served me well, and I enjoyed teaching with it. It has all kinds of features that are very cool, like this indexing ring that's quite accurate, this scale on the side, and they replaced the silly locking mechanism for the turnable stage to a push button. This is very nice. I would like to get my hands on one of these, but it's, I think, a much better class of rail. And if you're going to use one, get this one. It's a bit more expensive. It's $182, but it's also quite a bit longer. I think this is a 200 millimeter. Yeah, you can see it right there. 180. Much better version. If you're going to buy a Nisi clone, don't just buy a Nisi. You'll be glad you did. All right, I'm going to show you another Nisi clone just to show you what a bad one looks like. That's very negative, isn't it? I shouldn't do this. But this is a Nisi clone that just doesn't cut the mustard. This is from Photo Pro. It costs $79. And it's kind of hard to see with your eyeballs what the problem is, because the problems are in the materials and how they're put together. This is made with a much lower quality metal. The lead screw's coarse and it's got bumps in it. I did get one of these, and it's just it looks the same in every respect, but you should be tipped off by the fact that it's half the price. There's a reason for that. Okay, I think I've got one from Oban as well to show you what a clone that is actually not that bad looks like. And you're going to say, well, it looks exactly the same. And that is precisely the point that I'm trying to make. This is the FRM7L. It's a confusing name. It also has the old style Nisi rotating mount plate, but it has a more substantial frame with a little bit more metal, holds it more rigid, and the little folding handle. So it's hard to tell the difference, isn't it? This looks like the two that I had the year after the Nisi that I reviewed, and they were knockoffs, but very good ones. So probably the best bet is to just forget about them and get yourself an automated rail, as you're going to need anyway before too long. But somebody is going to say, hey, why didn't you review the very cool looking Astra Hori? I think that's how you pronounce it, that just came out. And, well, I'm going to. Just give me a minute. Here it is. This is the Astra Hori, and I don't know what the number on it is. I was impressed with it. I've not used one, but I like the idea of having a micrometer control on the side. Does it work? I have no idea. It's probably not a very expensive micrometer, but if it does give you the ability to control the step length to that kind of scale that you would imagine for that kind of money, I would be impressed. It's probably what was the price? I've got it here. So $120 for a one level one. They also make one. They make it so that you can add a second level and another mounting plate. Let me see if I can get it to open. It's the same deal. It just gives you a slightly better look at where those micrometers are. But yeah, if it works, this could be very cool. It would probably be able to get you to a much closer to 5x without breaking too much of a sweat. But it depends, of course, on the quality of the build and on the quality of the lead screw. But absolutely, if you're buying one of these, be realistic about it. These are inexpensive devices that are going to have problems at some point. You have to really baby these. Take care of them, keep the screws tight, know which thumb screws you should and shouldn't tighten. Watch my video on that to know how to keep them in tune. And the first thing you need to do is take the darn feet off the bottom of them. These rails, none of them should be up on feet. They just wobble if they're on feet. And the whole point of this is you have to keep your camera still and stable. So that is oh no, there was one other. I'm sure that there is somebody in Germany who's just getting ready to take out a contract on me for not mentioning, of course, the ultimate in manual control rails. I put this in a separate category. It is gorgeous. It's in a class of its own. It's the Novaflex Castell M. It is a manual rail, but it has technology built into it that makes it just incredibly pleasant to use. This ring on the back is adjustable, and it allows you to get down to step lengths that allow for magnification up to 5 times in the field, which is absolutely marvelous. It would be so difficult to do this. Once you set the dial and you choose your step length, you just click this big button at the back to the right, one click at a time, and take a picture. And it is very sturdy. It is very well made. The rail itself looks exactly like the Castell Micro rail, solid, well built, and the whole thing just exudes quality. It's expensive. It's $700. But here's the thing. If you are going to be outdoors, focus stacking slightly larger subjects, and the closest in you're ever going to get is 5x, which is probably ridiculously close, unless you're using one of those Canon lenses, the MPE 65 or the other version of it. What is it? 25 millimeter 2.5 to 5x from Leoa. I think that was it. If you're using one of those, this is the perfect manual rail to have. It's expensive, but I guarantee you'll never need or never buy another manual rail. I really was sad to see this one go. It was a lot of fun to use. It really was. So that's it for the manual rails. There's I don't know if there's much in there that surprises you or is that new to you. I think probably the discussion of the automated rails is going to be a little more relevant to this group. Most of you guys, if you're not there already, are very shortly going to be using higher magnification and wanting to get into rails. So that's what we're going to talk about for the second half of this, are the automated rails. So the Cognisys Stackshot is probably not the gold standard, but the standard measure of what a focus stacking rail is supposed to do, what it's supposed to look like, how you're supposed to use it. It's been around for a long time. It is not without its problems, but it is not without its benefits either. And I'm going to show you just a typical setup that you'd see if you were to get into the entry-level Stackshot package today. That's the 100 millimeter, what is it, 100 millimeter, I keep showing you my desktop for some reason. It's 100 millimeters of travel on this rail. It's a very nicely made, very sturdy rail that uses a 200 step per revolution stepper motor driven by a very basic controller. I say very basic, but it has a lot of program modes built into it. It's very reliable. It's very easy to use, and almost everybody starts out with one of these, or maybe it would be more fair to say ends up with one of these. I think these days a lot of folks are getting into cheaper automated rails first, but this one is really, for the money, it's about as reliable and useful as a rail can be. And it does have some quirks to it. As magnification gets higher, it starts showing some misbehavior at very high magnification, where it tends to accumulate tension in the lead screw and then have a jumpy movement on the seventh step. Stuff like that, stuff that you probably wouldn't notice unless you were using the thing a whole bunch, but it's got also a strange pitch to the screw itself. The camera is only going to move 1.5. Actually, it's closer to 1.6. It's 1.588 millimeters per revolution of the motor, which is really it comes out to about 1600, which is easier to work with because that works into the mathematics of micro stepping stepper motors. We aren't going to get into all of that, but let me just tell you that for a basic rail that's going to get you comfortably to 20x, not probably much further than that, it's reliable, has all kinds of options for how to use it. It's dated, to be honest. The controller looks like something the aliens might have left behind when they built the pyramids. It's functional, but it's not particularly intuitive. Even their 3X driver, which is very nice, very full of functionality and able to drive 3 motors at a time, it too looks just a little bit old-fashioned. Forgive me for saying that, but yeah, it's been around for a long time. I don't think this has had an update or a facelift of any kind in 25 years, maybe it's not that long. I should have done a bit of research on that, but I know it's been a good while since anything was done to this. I think there was a software update that didn't really affect anything that most people use, and that was it. So very nice, very reliable, very safe, and by far the most common middle of the pack stacking devices that you're going to see. And I didn't mention backlash because I'm going to be mentioning that in several other ways, but you know, it has quite a bit of backlash. Maybe that's just because mine is pretty old now. I was going to reach over and grab it. No, I'll just give myself a hernia doing that. But it's I have the long version, the 200mm version, and the backlash is pretty awful. But you know, it's been around and been used a lot. So what can you say? It's not a bad bargain. I think 630 is the entry level price for this basic kit. The controller, the 100mm Stackshot, the cable for the motor, which goes from here into the motor, and the cable to your camera, which goes from the camera to, well, the rail. So that's the whole thing. 630. You can spend way north of 1,000 if you get the 3X, and there's all kinds of other motion devices they have for rotation and panning that you can add on and increase the cost that way. But it's right about middle of the pack as far as price goes. I remember I felt like I was buying a Rolls Royce when I bought my first one, because they are not inexpensive for somebody starting out. Something that is inexpensive for people starting out is this wonderful Chinese gift to the macro community. This is a Wii Macro rail, and it is still a great bargain, even though it's gone up a little bit in price to $330 these days. It's a wonderful, reliable, solid, heavy piece of equipment that can move a great deal of weight, at least as much as the Stackshot. It has a controller that I don't like. It doesn't have a primary user interface. It goes through your phone, which I do not like. I didn't like it when I tested this device. I don't like it now as I use it, and I do use all of my rails. I find it's cumbersome, and when I get a phone call, which is like every 3.5 minutes, but the whole thing can go wonky on me. So it's problematic from that angle. Now, I understand that Wii Macro has developed or is developing a way to run this thing from a telephone that's not hooked up as a telephone. Also, I heard somewhere that they may be making a standalone controller. I haven't seen it yet, if they have, but you know, I'm willing to live with the irritations, the mild irritation from the controller, the Bluetooth controller, because this is such an easy device to use. They've updated the software for the drivers and what have you, and it's even more responsive than it was before. It used to sometimes be difficult to connect to Bluetooth. That does not happen anymore. It connects instantly every time. So I love this rail, and at $330, it is a real bargain. And it's absolutely fantastic. The one thing I'd say is I had one crash using this vertically, and I'm quite sure it was my fault, but I don't know what I did. I drove a Mitutoyo objective into a slide on the stage of the microscope because I wasn't monitoring the rail, and I still to this day don't leave this rail alone when it's running, and nothing else has ever happened with it. But I'm once bitten, twice shy. My hat goes off to all the Williams over at Wii Macro for bringing this kind of high precision macro to the masses. I really love and respect what this company is doing for macro photography. and I hope they'll continue to do so for a long, long time. I can't wait to see what they come out with next. Amazing, amazing, amazing group of people. Okay, moving on. We're going to talk for a minute about MJKZZ or MJKZZ, which honestly is not a great name. It's a slightly confusing name because I can't remember what the letters are or what they mean. So forgive me for that. But yeah, there you go. Now, my confusion doesn't even begin to take flight until I go to their website. I have spent the last 12 hours going over their website, and I still, for the life of me, don't know what these guys sell. They appear to sell a lot of things, and then the things I was going looking for, I couldn't find anywhere on their website. It is very confusing to know what their product is. This is one of them. It's the Cool. This is another problem for the name dreaming up company that they hired. Cool, that is QOOL, the Cool Rail 250. It's kind of a basic rail. They say it's good up to 50x. I would have to see that to believe it. It's a fairly long rail, 170 millimeters, so that's pretty good. It uses a bigger motor than most rails. It uses a NEMA 23. You can see how much larger this is, and it's a high precision one. It has steps of 0.9%, which is half the usual. That gives it 400 steps per revolution. You could with micro stepping, you could calculate that this should give you about a minimum step length of 0.078 microns per step. That's small. That's down to close to a tenth of a micron, which is they're tiny steps. I'm not sure how practical it is. I think practically they say it'll get you down to about 0.3 microns. It'll handle a heavy vertical load. It's got an Arca Swiss clamp that a rail that they send with it, and it's a fairly decent basic rail, and it does not come with a controller. You have to buy a controller to use with it. So that the price of $379 for the rail, you have to add about 100 euros. This is, I'm talking about another 100 euros, bringing it up to about 500 euros, which is not a cheap rail. But this is their kind of middle of the road rail. Then there are several others. Let's see what order I put them in the pictures in, because I was so confused. The next one up the scale is this, which also uses the big motor. This is their Ultra rail kit. It does include the controller, and you can tell by the enclosure here that it's a more rigid, more sturdy industrial motor. It looks like some of the other products they sell are reconditioned industrial motors, like THK motors that they throw in these things. But it looks like a good solid piece of work. It doesn't have much travel. It's only 70 millimeters. Of course, 70 millimeters is more than you'll ever need to stack a macro picture, but it's nice to have the headroom for not running out of space. It has a 2 millimeter pitch on the lead screw. It has the same 0.9 degree motor included. It has a standalone infrared USB controller and an Arca Swiss rail. What else? It comes with a shutter cable. So it has the controller built in, so not built into the device, built into the package, so you don't have to buy it. And it comes out to $406. That's if you buy it through their website. That strikes me as being just a little bit more, a couple of dollars more than their entry-level Cool one. So this is where I get confused. Is this looks like a more sturdy, more useful rail compared to the other one, but the price appears to be about the same. Anyway, I looked this up over on photomacrography.net, and people talk about this very positively, that these THK rails are smoother, they don't have any wobble in them, and yeah, and people like them. So it's a step up apparently from the other rail, even though it costs the same. And by the way, the motor, the rail itself, not the motor, is repurposed, meaning it's already been used. It's a used rail. I didn't realize that, but there you go. All right, now the next step up is a big step up, and let me see. See, I've got two more kits in between the one I'm getting ready to talk about and that one. This is the one at the top of their schedule. Now, interestingly, there's nothing on the MJKZZ website about this rail. Not a word that I could find. Anyway, this is their Extreme Pro rail. It costs close to $1,000. It's 889 euros. Comes with a controller. It has dual rails, and it has these linear bearings on either side. I don't doubt for a minute that this is a very rigid, very accurate linear actuator. No doubt about it. It's very well built. In fact, I have seen one of these. It was sent to me by a friend to look at doing some modifications on the top part of it, and I used it while I had it, and it's a very, very nice rail. Very solid, very well built, pretty expensive. It has 90 millimeters of travel. Screw pitch is only 1/2 millimeter, so it's a very, very fine lead screw. And with what is it, 128 micro steps, and a starting resolution of 400 steps per revolution, you get down to 0.0097 microns in a step. That's crazy. You can absolutely do photography at 100x using this rail. It comes with the same NEMA 23 motor, a USB controller, a quick release Arca Swiss plate on the top, and yeah, and the USB controllers included with the kit, and it's about $1,000. So, you know, people love it. Over on photomacrography, people rave about it. Of course, I would rave about it too if I bought it. Whether it was good or not, I would have to convince myself that I loved it for that price. So I don't know. Let me show you the rails that are on its website, but they don't get much said about them. There's this one called the Focus Rail Kit, which looks like an inherently terrible design for a focus rail, with this monoblock riding on a single bearing block at the bottom. This just looks like it would have to wobble from side to side. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it does or not. It's got a teeny tiny motor on it. You know, it's supposed to be a cheap way to get into the whole thing. I think the price on their website was very confusing. $275, but it doesn't come with a controller, and they don't braid the wires together for you like I do with my conversions. This looks like a very, very, very basic rail that by the time you add a controller is going to cost you about $400, which, yeah, I wonder if that's a good deal or not. Anyway, we won't linger on that. There is one other rail that they have, and I suppose we should look at that, seeing as I don't know quite where this fits in the hierarchy either. This is one of their THK rails, and I'm just showing it for completeness sake. I couldn't even tell you how much it would cost to buy one of these, because they don't mention anything about it that I could find. So there you go. These rails are good, I have no doubt. They're well made. They're using really high quality actuators and motors. They should be just fine. I just wish they were a little clearer about what it is you're buying, and yeah, and so on. Check out their website, and maybe you'll find it a bit less confusing than I did, in which case you can tell me what the deal is. All right, so we've been through all of these fancy rails. There's nothing left to go, right? That's it. Well, there is one rail left to go, and it's obviously the one I would leave till the end, because I still can unabashedly say that in my book, this is the best rail on the market today. It really is. It's the Novaflex Castell Micro. It is beautiful. It is not perfect, but it is beautiful. It has a strong, very powerful motor. I don't know much about it because it's kept very much in the dark. They don't tell you what it is. You can't see the markings on the motor. You would be, I think, foolish to unscrew any of these screws. But this has got a very fine pitched lead screw. The bearings are very high quality, and the thing is so smooth and so quiet and so predictable and so reproducible. It's just a fantastic rail. It is incredibly pricey, but I've talked about this at length. I don't know that it bears going over again, other than to say it is pricey because they put a lot of money into making this the best rail there is. And you're going to see in just a minute that it's actually not quite as pricey as you might have thought when I start showing you the prices of some of the non-commercially available rails that we're going to talk about next. But this is the Novaflex Castell Micro. It costs $3,000. It's a stunning piece of equipment. It's a joy to use, and it is beautiful just to have it in your studio. I love it. It's got a fantastic touchscreen controller that is also gorgeous. The cables are nice. Everything about it is nice. It comes in a beautiful holding case. And it's just fantastic. This rail has some strange behavior, a kind of rotational movement of the rail at very high magnification. I saw it. Other people have seen it, and it is rumored that Novaflex is in the process of doing something to remedy that issue. But for the time being, this is still, without question, the best rail on the market. Now, I use mine to drive a separate platform that my camera's on, so I'm not putting the camera on the device itself. I use a connection between this and a platform with linear bearings that drives the camera, just to be completely transparent on that. But doing it that way, I totally rely on this device. I love it. It's absolutely fantastic. Now, there is another category that I want to at least touch on briefly because I think it's important, and that is there are a lot of pieces of equipment out there that can be repurposed as macro rails that are not actually commercially sold that way. And I'm going to show you a few examples. The first one you may be familiar with because, well, you've seen me messing around with this. If I can get the picture to open, yeah, I'm pointing at it. I'm not sure why, but this is a BH2 focus block from an Olympus microscope that I have repurposed as a focusing block for high magnification macro photography. This has at least 10 times the resolution of the best rail that we've looked at today. And you can pick up one of these microscopes, decommissioned microscope, for $50 to $100. Then you have to pay me to fix it, or you fix it yourself and put it back together in this configuration. And it works. It'll give you step lengths of 1/10 of a micron or 1/20 of a micron with some other microscopes. A little bit of gear action. You can put a drive belt on this, and you can reduce the steps even further. It is very reliable, very solid, pretty easy to do, and it doesn't cost much more than the microscope does, unless you have to replace parts. So, you know, if I was a rail company, I'd be concerned about people doing this, because it's not just this that they're doing it with. There are other things that people are buying on the used market and converting to high precision macro rails. This is a Zaber. That's, I'm sure, somebody's name, Mr. or Mrs. Zaber. But this is a high precision motor with a closed loop feedback and a very, very high precision linear actuator attached to it. They come in every size imaginable, from teeny tiny up to ginormous. And if you're a speed reader, this was from their website. It's these are wonderful rails, but they are super expensive. I didn't include the price on this one, but it's well over $3,000. This is one of their LSM series. Everything about it, as far as the specs, outperforms the best rail you can buy. So, slapping a quick release plate on the top of this and using it as a focus stacking rail in high magnification would be a no-brainer. The problem would be, you would need to write the software for the controller so that you could operate this thing as a focus stacker. That's the issue, of course, is that the hardware is one thing, but the software is altogether another matter. There's another company that you may have heard of. You may have seen me flashing one or two of their tripods around the studio. This is Velmex. Velmex makes these bi-sliders, which these are just two examples of many different models that they have. These are really, really well-made industrial linear actuators that they have a manual as well as powered, but they are not cheap. Would you like to see how not cheap they are? I think I've got a picture of a picture from their website too. It won't open though. Yeah, there it is. Again, you're talking about devices that have at least the same performance as the best rail you're going to buy, and in many cases much better. Look at this, the repeatability of 0.0002 inches. That's what, 1/2000th of a millimeter, something like that. Anyway, very, very impressive these devices are. And I found one that was on sale that I thought about buying for about 3.5 microseconds. This was another Velmex. This is one of their the same series of devices. $2,253 new. There you go. That says it all, doesn't it? Beautiful, beautiful equipment. But this is way up there in the Novaflex range. So it's real, and people are doing this. But it's something you need to think hard about, because it's not completely easy. You know what? We're almost out of time, and I haven't had a chance to say hi to anybody. I think what I'll do is just say hi to everybody at once. Hi, everybody. I'm so glad you could make it. We covered every single rail that I wanted to, except one. There is a rail that may be hitting the market sometime soon, and it's involved with a Kickstarter campaign that I ran across. I happened to run into the owner of the company, and we have been in communication, and I am very excited about what this company is doing. I'm not going to say any more about it right now. It certainly wouldn't be fair to compare anything I know about their stuff to what we've just been talking about, which is all currently available. I'm going to find out a lot more about this company and about the maker of this rail and this whole macro system, actually, because I think that it might be something that is going to upset the market greatly. For the time being, I'm not going to tell you any more than just that, but it is exciting. So let me see who is here and say hi to them. I see Joseph's here. The controller looks a lot like a kitchen timer. Well, they all do, Joseph, if you have a nice kitchen timer like I do. Dave, you were complaining that I wasn't your friend last week. I became your friend this week when I signed that thing on Facebook. So are we good again? I hope so. Are there weight-bearing considerations for any of these rails? What kind of MTBFs can be expected? Yeah, Zeno, I have all of that data for all of these rails, but I wasn't going to... they're all... You mean the weight-bearing vertical and horizontal? They're all above 2 kilos a piece, but I can go into that. You know what? I'll probably put it in the blog post so you can look at it. Yes, most have a weight that will, jam the mechanism. Yeah, I know that, and I wouldn't have mentioned any rail that couldn't at least carry the same weight as the Stackshot, which is a lot. Okay, let me see. Oh, a lot of interesting comments. I'm going to have to go through these separately when I have a little bit of time. Andrew's going to buy one of these rails as soon as he sells his boat. All right, let me see. Can the Stackshot stepper motor be upgraded? No. As far as I know, it cannot. Not on the... I mean, all you have to do is take it off and put the other one on, but I don't think Stackshot has that as an option. In fact, they don't on their catalog. I think they sell a 400 step motor, but that's not what they use, and their micro stepping and everything is set up for a 200 step motor. Yeah, I was checking the math today. Yeah, the firmware can be configured for 400 step revolution in addition to 200. Well, there you go. It can be. Fantastic. Well, listen. This was fun, and this was just us kind of scratching the surface. I know that in the past we've kept it to a much more limited range of motors, drives, but we've had much less opportunity to get into this. We can talk more about it, and I hope we do, because the times are upon us that we've got to be super careful how we spend our money, aren't they? And thanks, Laura, for reminding folks to hit the like button. Did anybody hit it? I'm sure somebody did. All right, we got to go. Thank you so much for coming, and I will see you on Thursday if you have any interest in learning how to control your Stackshot through your Zerine system. And, otherwise come anyway, because I'll probably mess some stuff up and give you a good laugh. Have a great rest of the week. See you on Thursday. If not, then see you in After Stack on Saturday. Good night, all.